Hello everyone, welcome to this section. In this section, we're going to talk about if statements in Python. So let me illustrate it with an example. We would like to write a program that checks if a number is positive and prints positive number if it is correct, it is positive, okay? So there are certain situations that we would like to check certain condition in Python. To do that, we need to use if conditions. For example, we would like to say if this happened, do this. If something else happened, do something else. Okay, so this is a logical conditional statement in Python. For example, here we would like to write a program that checks if a number is positive or not and prints positive number if the number is positive. To do that, I'm initializing a variable called number and I assign number 10 using the if keyword followed by the condition itself followed by a colon. We are having the if statement in Python. For example, here I'm saying that if that number that we declare to be 10 is larger than 5, then print out the number is greater than 5. Okay, please note that we are having a bit of a space here that is following this if condition. So you start the if condition here, and when you're talking about the statement, the block of code that you want to execute, if this condition is correct, you need to leave some space, and it is automatic. So when you type down an if condition and you enter, usually compilers leave you some spaces automatically. Okay, so when I entered, you see things are going to be started from this part, okay, itself. So it is automatic. So let me run the code. So now the compiler is providing the output for this statement in Python. So you see that in the output, the number is greater than 5. You see that? But if I put here a 15, so I say I am initializing a variable called number that is assigned to 10, and I'm checking to see if this number is larger than 15, do this for me, okay? So when I run, I see nothing in the output as you see it here, okay? So when you see nothing in the output, it means that this part is not passed. This condition is not passed. Why? Because 10 is not larger than 15. So in order to have one if statement in Python, we are having the if keyword followed by the condition. So in this case, we are saying number is larger than 15. Then don't forget to put this colon here as well. Then when you enter, you go for the printing or the rest of the execution of code that you would like to write down there. So for example, I could say if number is lower than 0, for example, print the number is negative. Okay, so this is another if condition that I'm typing down here. Please note that there is a little bit of a space. When I enter, it automatically leaves a little bit of a space, so it increases the readability of your code as well, because now you understand that this part of the code execution depends on this if condition. So if we enter this condition, then this execution will be done. So when I run, you see that in the output we see nothing. Why? Because this is 10. 10 is not larger than 15. Therefore, this if condition is not executed because this part is not passed. And by passed, I mean this part is not true. It's not correct. And also because 10 is not lower than 0. Therefore, this part is not also executed. So what if I put minus 10, for example, here, and I run the code? So you see that first it checks this if, and it says minus 10 is larger than 15. No, then this is not being printed out in the output. But it is checking to see minus 10 is lower than 0. Yes, so it is going to enter this part and execute this part, and it is saying that the number is negative. So this is how basically we can use if statements in Python. In the following videos, we are going to do some practical coding exercises to understand different situations in which we can use if statements. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to another coding exercise. In this video, we're going to talk about if and else statements. In the previous video, we learned already about if statements, but now we are going to include else as well. So we would like to write a program to check if a person is older than 18 or not. Here I'm initializing a variable called age. I'm assigning number 18 to it. I'm having the if keyword here, and I'm checking to see age larger than or equal to 18. So if age is larger than or equal to 18, then colon. So then print out this part for me. So let me first comment this part of the code. So we work with the first part first. So it says that you are eligible to vote. So basically I'm assigning a variable. I'm having again, there are 3 steps. We use the if keyword, we put the condition, and then the colon. Okay. So we are saying that if age is larger than or equal to 18, then if this is true, print out you're eligible to vote. So if I put 10 here, it prints nothing. You see, it prints nothing because 10 is not larger than 18. In this case, we can have else conditions. For example, we want to check because in the output I see nothing. I get somehow, okay, did I do everything correctly? Because I'm not seeing any message in the output. But in order to make sure that you did everything correctly, it's nice to have sometimes an else condition. So if the condition is true, do this. Otherwise, using else keyword, otherwise do this. Okay. So I'm saying that age equals 10. First, I'm checking 10 is larger or equal than 18. No. Otherwise, because it does not pass this condition, print you're not eligible to vote. So when I run, you see that you are not eligible to vote. So it's not going to execute both of the conditions. It is going to either be in the first one or in the second one. Okay. So let me illustrate with another example. So the person age is 22. So this is a program to check if someone can vote or not. Okay, so when I run, it says 22 is larger than 18, so you are eligible to vote. Okay, but if I put, for example, instead of 22, 12, it says you're not eligible to vote in the output. Why? Because 12 is not larger than 18. So this if and else condition is somehow, if the condition is true, do this. Otherwise, say that, for example, you're not eligible. So anything that is not larger than or equal to 18 is going to be included in this else part. Okay, you understand? So this is how an if-else statement would work in Python. We check one condition. If this condition is true, do this. Any other things, otherwise, anything other than the condition that I'm putting there, just include it in the else part. Then you say that, okay, in the else part, it means that you're not eligible. It doesn't matter if the person is 12 years old, 2 years old, 5 years old, or 17 years old. If it's not included in the larger than or equal to 18, it is considered to be else. Okay, thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about if, elif, else statement in Python. So we would like to write a program that assess the mark of a student and grade it based on different conditions. For example, it is going to grade A to the student if the mark is larger than 19, larger than or equal to 19. It is going to issue grade B if it is larger than or equal to 75. It is going to grade C if it's larger than or equal to 15, and any other number, else part, any other number that is not included in neither of these conditions is going to issue the grade F. So it means that if the mark is lower than 49, okay, or lower than equal to 49, it is going to enter this part, because any other number is going to be included in this part, and the only numbers that can be included in this part it means that it is lower than or equal to 49. So let me run the code first. It says grade B. Why? So I'm having the 85 assigned to marks. In the first part, I'm checking if marks 85 is larger than 90. No, so it is not going to print grade A. Then it comes here. When I'm having several conditions to check, as of the second one, I need to type down elif instead of if. Okay, this is something to note. I'm checking elif mark is larger than or equal to 75. So my number was 85, and it is larger than or equal to 75. Okay, it is true. So this condition is passed. Then it is going to print out grade B for us in the output. So if I type down 92, for example, now we see grade A in the output. So now it is 92. 92 is larger than 90. Yes, so it is going to enter this part of the code and execute grade A. So what if it is 55 and I run, it says grade C. So it is 55. 55 is larger than 90. No, it is not going to print this part, therefore. It jumps to the next if condition. Elif, as of the second condition checking, we are going to type down elif. Be careful about it. So elif 55 is larger than 75. No, so it is not going to execute this part. So it is going to jump to next elif. It says 55 is larger than 50. Yes. So it is going to enter this part and execute grade C. Okay. So what if I have number 40? So here, before running the code, I'm going to discuss the detail. 40 is larger than 90? No. Then it jumps here. 40 is larger than 75? No. Then it jumps here. 40 is larger than 50? No. So because 40 is not going to enter any of them, we are having the else part. So if I don't have the else part, nothing is going to be printed out in the output, because 40 is not in any of the ranges above. Okay. But for clarity, I'm putting the else. So whatever that is not included in neither of the ranges, it is going to be included in the else part. So it says grade F. So when I run, we see grade F in the output. So this is how we can have the checking of the first condition, it is F. As of the second condition, when we want to check, we type down elif. And if we are going to check 100, for example, statements, we type down elif. And for the last one, when we want to say, okay, if neither of the above ranges and if conditions is not passed for certain value, we're going to enter the else part. So you see, if I comment this part, we see nothing in the output, because 40 is not in any of the ranges that we are investigating using if and elif conditions. Okay, so it is not larger than 19, not larger than 75, not larger than 50. But for the clarity, it's nice to have something in the output, so you know when you have, for example, 2,000 lines of code, it's nice to know what is happening in each part of your code. So I'm having this else part, and also for validation, when you're having something in the output, for validation, it's very good. So here I'm having the grade F being printed in the output, because 40 is not included in neither of the ranges. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to talk about nested if conditions. Nested if conditions means that we are having one if above, and we are going to have several if conditions included inside the first if condition. Let me illustrate it with an example. So here we would like to check two things. First, to see if a number is larger than 10 or not. And if it is larger than 10, then check to see if the number is odd or even. Okay, so there are two ifs to be checked. So therefore, we can use nested if conditions. Let me illustrate it with an example. So I'm having a variable called number, I'm assigning number 15 to the number variable. First, I'm checking to see if this number is larger than 10 or not. So if the number is larger than 10, this part of the code needs to be executed. This part of the code is going to enter this if condition. Then this further part of the code is going to be investigated, okay? And if the number is larger than 10, it is going to investigate this part that I highlighted. And if the number is not larger than 10, it is going to enter this else part here, okay? So this is the first if condition. If the number is larger than 10, it is going to enter this part and investigate this part. If the number is not larger than 10, it is going to enter this part. So for example, let me check number 5. So when I run this code, it says the number is not greater than 10. So it checks to see if 5 is larger than 10. No, it's not true. Therefore, this part of the code is not going to be executed or even investigated. When 5 is not larger than 10, it is going to directly come to this else part because it's not larger than 10, and it is going to say the number is not greater than 10. But what if the number is greater than 10? So if the number is greater than 10, it is going to check if the number is divided by 2, its remainder equals 0. So when we want to see if a number is odd or even, one way would be to check if the number is when an even number is divided by 2, when the remainder of this division equals 0, it means the number is even. Okay, I will say it again. So when one number is divided by 2 and the remainder of this division is 0, it means that the original number that was divided by 2 is an even number. Take 10 as an example. So 10, when it is divided by 2, the output is 5. The output of division is 5, but the remainder is 0. Therefore, we can say number 10 is an even number. But if we have a division of number 11 divided by 2, there will be some value in the remainder of this division. Therefore, it shows that it is one of the signs of saying that this number is not even and it is odd. So one condition to check if a number is even or not is to see if the number is divided by 2, the remainder of this division must be equal to 0. If this condition is true, therefore the number is even. So we are checking to see if this number is divided by 2 and its remainder using modulus sign equals 0. It means that if this condition passes, it means that the number is even. Then we are going to have the number is greater than 10 and even. Otherwise means this part, okay? If this condition is not passed, it is going to enter this part. So let me run the code. So it says the number is greater than 10 and odd. It means that this part is executed. So let us go step by step. Number equals 15. 15 is larger than 10? Yes. So when this is the first condition, this is the second part. So when 15 is larger than 10, it is going to enter either of these conditions, okay? So first it says 15 divided by 2, its remainder equals 0. No, this is not true because it's 15 and it's not an even number. Therefore, this condition is not true because when 15 is divided by 2, the remainder is not equal to 0. So when this part is not executed, this condition is not passed. Therefore, this part is not executed and it jumps to this part. Says that, okay, if it is divided by 2 and its remainder is not equal to 0, it means that the number is odd. Therefore, it is printing out the number is greater than 10 and odd. So we learned in this video about nested loops. So this is the first if condition and this is another if condition inside of the first if condition. So in the first if condition, it is checking to see if the number is larger than 10 or not. Okay, but this second if condition that is checking to see if the number is odd or even is included inside the first if condition. So this is how we call a nested if condition, when one if condition is inside another if condition. We learned about if conditions and the nested if conditions, and we learned how to understand if a number is odd or even. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to work on a coding exercise to show a message depending on the temperature degree that we read from the user. To start, we initialize a variable called temperature, and we show the message to the user, enter the temperature in Celsius. Then whatever that the user is going to enter, we are storing using the input function, and it is by default stored in a string data type, and we need to convert it to integer. This is why we are using the integer int function, in fact, to convert the entered value by the user that is stored as a string to be converted to integer here. And then the entered value by the user is being assigned to this temperature variable. So depending on the temperature, we are going to show different messages to the user. Therefore, we need to use if conditions. So we would like to say if the temperature that is entered by the user is larger than or equal to 30, we would like to show the message to the user saying that it's a hot day, stay hydrated. If another condition, if the temperature that is entered by the user is larger than 20 and lower than 30, show this message to the user, it's a nice day. And otherwise, mention that it's a cold day, wear a jacket. But this else part means that the temperature that is entered by the user is lower than 20. How come? How did I understand it? Because we are entering a number, so the user is entering a number, and we are storing it in temperature variable. So this temperature variable is either larger than 30 or it is between 20 and 30. And if neither of these conditions are true, therefore it is lower than 20. So larger than 30, between 20 and 30, or below 20. So we could write down elif below 20 like this, like the one that we are having here. So we could write it like elif temperature lower than 20, for example, lower than or equal to 20. In this case, print it's a cold day, wear a jacket, or we could simply use the else part, because when neither of these conditions are true, then this else condition is true, and it is going to show the message, it's a cold day, wear a jacket. So when I run this code, I have the enter data 35. So it shows the message, enter the temperature in Celsius. This is this message here. So I enter this temperature, and it says it's a hot day, stay hydrated. How? Because when I entered 35, it checks this if condition, and it says that 35 is larger than 30. Therefore, this statement is true, and it is going to print this message for me in the terminal. But if I say the weather is 25 degrees, it says it's a nice day. So it starts from here. It says 25. Is it larger than 30? No, this statement is not true. Therefore, it's not going to execute this line, and therefore it is jumping to the next condition. It checks to see 25, is it in this line? So 25, is it larger than 20 and lower than 30? Yes, it is true. Therefore, when this statement is true, it is going to print this message for us in the output, which is it's a nice day. And if I type down, for example, the degree 5, it says temperature, is it larger than 30? So 5 is not larger than 30. So this statement is not true. It jumps to the next condition. 5, is it between 20 and 30? No, it's not true. So it's jumping to the next condition. And because neither of them are true, therefore this else is being executed. So it says that it's a cold day, wear a jacket. So this is how we can use practical exercises in Python to practice some concepts that we already learned. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to another coding exercise session. In today's video, we are going to talk about if statements when they are combined with logical operators. So let me illustrate it with an example. Here I'm having one variable called temperature. It is equal to 30, and we have humidity equals to 70. So we want to say if temperature is larger than 25 and at the same time humidity is larger than 60, then it's hot and humid. So first, if temperature is larger than 25 and humidity is larger than 60, print it's hot and humid. Then elif, we're going to have elif, if either the temperature is larger than 25 or humidity is larger than 60, then print it is either hot or humid, otherwise print the weather is comfortable. Okay, this is what we want to write in the output. So don't just see this part of the code, just see these lines, these 3 lines, okay? So if temperature is larger than 25 and humidity is larger than 60, print it's hot and humid. So far, we learned about if statement and nested loop. So we could write something like, for example, if temperature is larger than 25, let me uncomment this part and I comment this part. So we can have something like if temperature is larger than 25 and then if humidity is larger than 60, print hot in the output. Okay, so this is one way to type this code down. So for the first part, we can say if temperature is larger than 25, so we are checking if temperature is larger than 25 and humidity is larger than 60 and humidity is larger than 60, print it's hot and humid. So this is a nested if condition, one if inside another if. So it is going to enter if the this if condition, if the temperature is larger than 25, then it is going to check, okay, the temperature is larger than 25, but the humidity, is it larger than 60? If so, go to this part and print this part for me, okay? So when I run the code, it says it's hot and humid because the temperature is 30, humidity is 70, so 30 is larger than 25, so first condition for the first if is passed. Then 70 is larger than 60, then it is going to print hot and humid. But sometimes, not always, but sometimes it is possible to use logical operator to avoid nested if conditions and have a better way, an easier way to type down this code. How? This is how. So we can have the checking of conditions in one line. So I can say if temperature is larger than 25 and at the same time humidity is larger than 60, instead of typing a nested if condition like this, I'm having in one line and using AND logical operator. When we are using the AND logical operator, we are going to have 2 conditions to be checked and both of them must be true to enter the if. Okay, so if the temperature is larger than 25 but humidity is not larger than 60, it is not going to enter this part. It is not going to print it's hot and humid. At the same time, both of the conditions must be true. So the temperature must be larger than 25 at the same time and humidity must be larger than 60, so it enters and prints this it's hot and humid message in the output. Okay, and I would like to have another condition to be checked. Because it's another condition to be checked, I'm using elif keyword and I'm saying if temperature is larger than 25 or humidity is larger than 60. What's the difference between these two lines? So it's and it's or. So when it's and, it means that the first condition and second condition, both of them must be true to enter the condition. Okay? But when we are using the or logical operator, it means that either the first one or the second one must be true. Okay? One of them at least must be true to enter the condition. This is for sure. But not necessarily both of them. If one of them is correct, it's done. We are going to enter the if condition. So it says temperature is larger than 25, okay, or humidity is larger than 60, then print out it's either hot or humid. Otherwise, if neither of these conditions are true, print the weather is comfortable. So let me run the code now. It says it's hot and humid. Why it enters this part? Because it starts from this part and checks to see temperature is larger than 25. Yes, because it's 30, and humidity is 70. 70 is larger than 60. Yes, so both of the conditions are true. It is going to print this line for us. But if I have the temperature to be 15, for example, and I run the code now, we go and analyze the code now again. So it says temperature is 15. 15 is larger than 25? No. So it is not even going to check the second condition because it's a and logical operator. Both of the conditions in this line must be true. So if one of them even is not true, it's not going to check the other one because it's using and operator. So this part is not going to be executed. It jumps to this part, okay? So it says temperature is larger than 25. So 15 is larger than 25. No, it's not true, but we are using the or logical operator. Let's check the other side also. So humidity is 70. 70 is larger than 60. Yes. So one of the conditions is true and is passed. Therefore, it is going to execute this part for us. It's either hot or humid. And if we have a situation, if, for example, the humidity is like 10, for example, and I run the code, it says the weather is comfortable because it checks to see 15 is the temperature. 15 is larger than 25. No. So it is not even going to check this part because it's and logical operator and both of the parts must be true. Therefore, it's not going to execute this part. It jumps here. It checks temperature is 15. 15 is larger than 25. No. But because we are using or logical operator, it's not a problem if one of them is not true. Let's check to see if the other part is true or not. So humidity is 10. 10 is larger than 60. No. So we are having two conditions and neither is passed. Therefore, this part is not going to be executed as well because for or logical operator, at least one of them must be true. But for the and, both of them must be true. Okay, this is the difference. So let me type down both of them must be true. One of them, if, let me type it like this. If one of them is true, it is executed. Okay. But in our case, in this example, we had our temperature and humidity neither included in this range nor in this range. Therefore, it is going to be included in the else part. So the weather is comfortable, and therefore the weather is comfortable is printed out in the output. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we are going to work on a coding exercise that is checking to see if someone is eligible to vote or not. To do that, we are initializing a variable called age, and we are using the input function to ask the user to enter their age, and we are storing using the input function, and because it is stored by default in a string data type, we need to convert it to integer, so we use the int or int function to convert it to integer, and then we are storing the output in the age variable. Then the eligibility condition here is like this. So if the guy or the girl is older than or equal to 18 years old, they are eligible to vote. Otherwise, they're not eligible to vote. To check that, we are having the if condition, and then the condition is like this. So age, is it larger than or equal to 18? If this statement is true, we are going to print you are eligible to vote, and otherwise, meaning that the age of the person is lower than 18. So you're not eligible to vote. So if I run this code, I enter 20. So it asks me enter your age. So I enter 20, and 20, it says you're eligible to vote. So this code is being executed because 20 is larger than 18. So I say 25, it says you're eligible to vote. What if I say I'm 10 years old, it says you're not eligible to vote. Why? Because it checks to see my number 10, is it larger than 18? No, it's because this condition is not true, this statement is not true. It jumps to the else part, saying that, okay, this option is not true for you. If you're not falling in this range, therefore you're not eligible to vote, and we are entering the else part. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we are going to write a program to check if a number is between 10 and 20 inclusive, or if it is equal to 25. So I'm having a variable called a. It is assigned number 15. First is to check to see if this number is between 10 and 20. We can use and to check if the number is between 10 and 20. To do that, I'm having the if condition, if keyword. I'm having this part of the condition first, saying that a is larger than or equal to 10, because it says inclusive. We are having the equal sign as well. And at the same time, it is lower than or equal to 20, because we want to make sure it is between 10 and 20. If it was saying that it's larger than 10, we didn't need this part. Okay, we want to check it must be at the same time larger than 10 and lower than 20. So we need one and operator, logical operator. Why? Because both of the conditions must be met, therefore we need one and logical operator. So it says to check if a number is between 10 and 20, or the program itself, the problem statement itself is saying or if it is equal to 25. So either this condition or this condition. So either this condition must be true or this condition must be true, because it says to check if a number is between 10 and 20 or it is equal to 25. So it says that we are having this to check if it is between 10 and 20 using AND operator. In the parentheses, we are having the first condition being checked and the second condition, or if it is equal to 25. So I'm having OR logical operator and then checking to see if A equals 25. So if either this part or this part is met, because when we are using OR logical operator, either of the conditions should be true to enter the part. So either it is between 10 and 20 or it is equal to 25, it is going to print condition met. Otherwise, it is going to say condition not met. So when I run the code, it says condition met because the number is 15. Okay? So when the number is 15, it is passing this first condition. It says that, okay, 15 is larger than 10 and lower than 20. So it is going to execute the condition met message without even checking this part. Why? Because there is one OR in the middle. So for the OR, we need to have at least one condition to be true. So this part is true. So we don't care about the second part. We are not going to check the second part. We are going to directly type down the message condition met. So if I have the number 5, what would happen? It says condition not met. So 5 is not larger than 10 and lower than 20. Okay, so let us check the second part. So 5, is it equal to 25? No. So neither this part nor this part is true. Therefore, it is not going to execute this part of the code, and it is going to jump here in the else part and print condition not met as we are having here. So what if I have 25? Let me run the code again. It says condition met. Why? First, it checks 25 is larger than 10. Yes. But is it at the same time lower than 20? No. So this part is not met. Okay. For AND logical operator, both of them must be true. But when both of them is not true, the whole parenthesis is not true, which is the first part of the condition before OR. But because we are having OR logical operator, it may be true that the second part is true. So, and we need only one condition for the OR logical operator to enter the condition. So let's check the second part. We say 25 equals 25. Is it true? Yes. So it enters and print out the condition met in the output. So this is how we can have the combination of writing if statement with two logical operator at the same time in one example in one line. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome back. In this video, we're going to write a program to compare two numbers and print whether the first number is greater than, less than, or equal to the second number. So we are going to use comparison operator. So we are having the first variable equals 10, the second one equals 20. We check to see if x equals y. We are going to say x and is equal to y. We are printing out this code. If x lower than y, x is lower than 5, and else x larger than y. Why we are having this else part? So there are three things to check: greater, less than, less than, or equal. So when this part, when a number is not equal and it's not, so the first number and second number, they are not equal to each other. So the first number is also not only it's not equal to the second number, but also it's not lower than the second number, therefore it is larger. Okay, so let me illustrate with an example, it would be better. So when I run the code, it says x is less than y. So x is 10 and y is 20. It checks 10 equals 20. No, it's not passing this part. Okay, so this part is not executed. It checks the second condition. 10 is lower than y, 10 is lower than 20. Yes, so it is going to execute this part of the code. Okay, so when I have both set to be 20, it says x is 20 and y is 20. It says that if 20 equals 20, yes, it says in the output, it prints x is equal to y, and we are having this part here. But what if x is 30? So when I run this code, it says x is greater. So when x is not equal to y and it is not lower than y, the only condition that is left is x larger than y. This is why we are having in the else part x is greater than y. We could have another elif saying that if, for example, we could say elif x larger than y. We could also have this part. They are identical. So when I run this code, we still see x is greater than y. So elif x larger than y, x is greater than y. But we were using the else in my first example because we are checking first x is not equal to y and x is not lower than y. So therefore, if neither of these conditions are passed, therefore x is larger than y. Okay. But this is another way to type it down. The easier way is to have the first if condition x equal to y to check if they are equal, x lower than y if x is lower than y, and x larger than y to see and understand and print out in the output x is greater than y. So this is how we can compare two numbers using comparison operators. And comparison operators are these ones. So this is the equal, this is the lower sign, and this is the higher and larger sign. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to this lecture. In this video, we want to write a program that asks a user for a password until they guess it correctly. To do that, we are having one variable of a string type. It is called correct password, and the correct password is Python 123. And we are having a user input string, and it's of an empty string. As you see, nothing is stored already in this user input when we are declaring it and initializing it. So we would like to write a program that asks a user to enter a password, and the correct password is this one. And we are going to repeat this asking enter the password until they enter the correct password, so the access is granted. Okay, how do we do that? Using a while loop. So we type down the while keyword, then we are having the condition and then the column. But what is a condition? So we would like this while loop to continue as long as the user input is not equal to correct password. So if we are having this sign, two equal sign, it means that they are equal. And if we are having this sign, it means that they are not equal. Okay, so here I'm saying as long as this while loop should be continued as long as user input is not equal to correct password. Okay, this is the condition for my while loop. Then I'm asking in the loop, which is here, these are the execution part of the loop. So when we are entering the loop, these parts are going to be executed. How do I know that? Watch the space from the left line, the left side. Okay, this is the all of them are having some space from the left side of the of the page. Therefore, they are included in this while loop. And you see that this line is having more space as compared to this part. It means that this part is going to be executed for this if condition. Okay, so after passing the condition saying that the user input is not equal to the correct password, so we are going to enter this loop in the beginning of the program. Why? Because the correct password is Python 123 and user input is an empty string. Therefore, they're not equal. So we are going to enter for the first iteration. When we are entering for the first iteration, we are asking the user using the input keyword, we are asking the user enter the password. And whatever the user is entering, it is going to be stored in user input. Okay. Then using the if condition, we are checking to see if they are equal or not. So we are saying that if user input, what they entered here in the line above it, is not equal to correct password, show this message to the user, wrong password, try again, and it goes back up again. And the user input is not equal to the correct password, we are asking the user enter the password again, and then we are checking if they are not equal to each other, we are saying wrong password, try again. So this loop is going to continue as long as user input is not equal to the correct password. But what if the user is going to enter the correct password? If the user entered the correct password, so user input is indeed equal to correct password. Therefore, we are not going to enter this while loop, and then we're going to jump here and print access granted. So let me run the code one time. So it says enter the password. So we are in this line. You see this green line? We are this line is the part that is being executed. The user input is an empty string and the correct password is Python 123. And it checks these conditions saying that, okay, user input is not equal to correct password. Therefore, we need to enter this while loop. And in this line, it says, okay, enter the password and whatever I enter, it is going to be stored in user input. Then it is going to check the user input with the correct password to see if they are not equal. If they're not equal, it is saying that wrong password. So I'm typing down, for example, Reza Shahin. It says wrong password, try again. So it showed this message and then it went up and saw that Reza Shahin again is not equal to password. So let us enter this loop again. And it is going to ask the question one more time. Enter the password again. Reza, I'm saying Reza. It says wrong password. Try again. When I enter my password, it is stored in user input variable, and it says user input is Reza, correct password is Python123, and they're not equal. Therefore, this condition is true. Therefore, it execute this part, this message, wrong password, try again. So you see it here. Okay, and it goes back up again because user input and correct password is not equal again. The condition is true, it enters here and it shows the message enter the password. So we are going to see this repetition as much as possible until we are going to enter the correct password. So when I enter the correct password, Python123, it says access granted. So when I enter, what happens here? When I enter the password here, it is storing the Python123 in the user input, and it says Python123 as the user input is not equal to Python123. No, this is false. So it is not going to enter this part. It goes back up again. It checks Python123 is not equal to correct password. This condition is not true because they are indeed now equal. Therefore, it is not going to execute this part of the code again, and it is not going to enter this while loop again. So it is going to come here and execute this line, which is access granted message in the output. So this is how the while loop can be useful and practical in real world examples, as you see in this example here. Thank you for watching. Hello everyone, welcome to another coding exercise. In today's video, we would like to check if two numbers are divisible or not. So we are initializing two variables called num1 and num2. We are asking the user to enter the first number and then asking the user to enter the second number, and the entered number from the user are stored respectively in num1 and num2. And to check if they are divisible or not, we need to have this condition. So if the first number is divided by the second number and the remainder of this division equals to 0, it means that the numbers are divisible. Otherwise, not divisible. Okay, so the condition to see if a number is divisible by another number is to do the division. So we divide the first number by the second number and we check the remainder of this division. And if the remainder of this division equals 0, it means that these two numbers are divisible. Otherwise, they're not divisible. Okay, this is the condition to be checked. To convert this statement into Python code, we need to have the if condition. So we check to see if num1 divided by num2 and the remainder of this division using modulo operator equals to 0. If this statement is true, we are going to print this message saying that num1 is divisible by num2. So, and they are separated by a comma. Please note that because num1 is a variable and num2 is a variable, and this part is a string message that we are showing in the output. And if this statement is not true, we are going to enter this else part, and this message is being shown in the terminal saying that num1 is not divisible by num2. So let me enter two numbers. The first number is 20, for example, and the second number is 5. It says 20 is divisible by 5. So it does the division, the code in Python does a division and checks the remainder, and when the remainder equals 0, in this case, yes, this statement is true. Therefore, it is printing out this message for us saying that 20 is divisible by 20. But if I say the first number is 11 and the second number is 2, it says 11 is not divisible by 2. So this is how we can check the divisibility of a number by another number using if conditions. Thank you for watching.